side lengths, perimeters, and areas of similar polygons. All right, so for the past couple weeks, we've been learning about perimeter area. This one also is in the volume sector, but we're not doing anything with volume right now. But we've been doing a lot with area and perimeter. So now we're going to put area and perimeter together. Perimeter is a length. Area is the amount of space that something takes up on a two-dimensional scale. So like a flat piece of paper type idea, as opposed to a full box. So with this one, what we want to do is start comparing. So on a lot of the other videos, it was length to length, height to height, something like that. In this case, what we're given is perimeter of figure 1 and perimeter of figure 2. So that can be my ratio of the lengths. I have 30 to 36. Now, if they gave me a length of a side to a length of a side, that would also be my my ratio. But in this case, they're giving me length to length, or perimeter to perimeter, sorry. So then I reduce this and I get 5 over 6 because I divide by, divide by 6 on both sides. I was writing the wrong number there. So I divide by 6 on both sides and I get 5 and I get 6. So here's my ratio. So I have 5 and I have 6. And then what I want to do is put this in a proportion so that I can figure out what the side length is. So remember, it's 5 to 6. So I want to make sure I write it this way. So smaller figure to larger figure. So now I want to do the same thing on this side. So if I have CD to EF, I'd have CD to EF is 6. So then I'd cross multiply, and I'd get 5 times 6 equals CD times 6. So 30 equals 6 CD. We divide by 6 on both sides, and I would end up with 5 equals CD. Now, some of you may have seen that right away up here, because 5, 6 equals something over 6. Well, shouldn't that be a 5? You're right. It should have been a 5 right away. If you didn't recognize that, that's perfectly fine. That's why I worked it out. So if you don't recognize right away what this needs to be in order to give you the same fraction on both sides, then you cross multiply and you work it out mathematically. But sometimes you can see it a little logically and go, well, if it's 5, 6 on this side and I have something missing on top, but it's already 6, well, then CD must be 5. And you would be 100% correct. CD is 5 centimeters. So now we have to do is talk about the areas. So area and length are different in that one is length and one is taking up space on a two-dimensional level. So it's not just one length, it's actually length and width. It's the idea of area. So before I can use this 5, 6 to do area, what I need to do is square it. So I end up with 25 over 36, because 5 times 5 is 25, 6 times 6 is 36. So, and this was an arrow, sorry, a very ugly arrow. All right, so now I can use this to talk about the area ratio. So now for area, I have 25 to 36. So I'm just putting it in the figure so that you remember which one it goes to. So 25 to 36. So my actual area is 150 for this one. They told me that. And my area for this one, I don't know. So I'm just going to put A for area. So now I'm going to cross multiply, and I get 25 times A equals 36 times 150. And they do give us our calculator on this one. So I'll pull this on over here. So I get 36 times 150 equals, and I get 5,400 equals 25A. So now what I want to do is get A by itself. So I'm going to divide by 25. Sorry, that's a really ugly 5 again. I'm going to divide both sides by 25 because 25 divided by 25 cancels. And I just have A equals, we need to go over to our calculator here, and we want to divide by 25 equals, all right, so we get 216. So we get 216. So now I'm going to close my calculator. And this was the explanation page. I just wanted to show you. They do end up going through to the same thing. They're going through the same things I just did, just a little bit longer, so I talked through it a little bit more than I did just read it. But they do get the exact same answers I get. So let's go ahead and actually try this out on the next page here. All right, so we'll do this one. So they're giving us area to area this time to start with. So we need to find our ratio. So we're going to have 150 to 96. And we need to reduce this. Or we would need to take the square root, but let's go ahead and reduce it first. So let's see, we get, when we divide by 2, so we get 75. Sorry, divide by 2, and we get 75. And then we get, what's 96 divided by 2? Sorry, doing this on another calculator over here. 48. So you can grab this calculator too. I was just doing it on a separate calculator. Let's see, can we divide by 3? We can divide by 3. So let's divide by 3, divide by 3. So I get 25, and 48 divided by 3, I get 16. Ooh, now all of a sudden this looks a little more manageable. The main reason is I need to take the square root of this whole thing in order to be able to compare it to just length. So when we had the length ratio, we had to square it. Now we have the area ratio, I need to take the square root. So we have to go back and forth with that. So the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 16 is 4. So if you would have tried to take the square roots to begin with, you would have ended up with the same decimal, but you wouldn't have just ended up with 5 over 4. So we want this ratio here. It makes it much easier later. So remember, this is 5 to 4, like this. So these are our ratios here. All right, so let's go ahead and work out this next portion here. Now that we have 5 to 4, we can start talking about perimeter or length, either way. So if I have Wx, we don't know, to 4. So this is one of those logic things that we were talking about. If I have 5 to 4 equals something to 4, doesn't that need to be 5? You're 100% correct. That does need to be 5. And if we multiply this out, we get 20. 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times Wx is 4. Wx. I would divide by 4, and I would end up with 5 equals Wx. So can I work it out just as quickly? Sure. If you see it logically, great. That's a really easy method if you can see that before starting. So we're going to go back to our 5/4 because we need this last piece, this perimeter. So remember, 5 goes with this side, so I'm going to grab this number first, 30, and then 4 goes with this figure, so I'm going to grab, I'll just say P for perimeter. So now we're going to start cross multiplying. So we have 5P equals 4 times 30. Let's see, we get 120 because we get 0 and then 12. All right, last step, we're going to divide by 5. 5 divided by 5, or any number divided by itself, cancels. So let's see, I end up with, it goes in twice, and I'll have 2 left over. I believe it's 24. Let's check it really quick on a calculator. Perfect, 24. Okay, so our last real step here is just type in your answers and check it. 24, let's check. And we got it. All right, let's clear it out and do the next one. All right, so we'll start this one in green. So now they're giving us side lengths. So right away, I know that I have 5 to 9. So I'm going to write 5 to 9. Well, I can't reduce 5 and 9. Those are already reduced. So this is my ratio, 5 to 9. So now I'm going to just start applying it. And let's do the perimeter first, since even though perimeter is a bigger length, perimeter is just the length around the outside instead of one side length. So that's why they're a little easier to compare. So this is going to equal, this is the ratio for 5, so we're going to have 20 over, and then on the 9 side we have P. So then we start cross multiplying, we have 5 times P, so 5P equals 9 times 20. Let's see, we get 0 and 18. Because we have 9 times 0 is 0, 9 times 2 is 18. All right, now we want to get P all by itself, so we're going to divide by 5 on both sides. Any number divided by itself cancels. And let's see, we end up with goes in 3 times there with 3 left over, so I believe it's 36. Let's test that. 180 divided by 5 is 36. All right, so I know that this one is 36, and we'll type that in a moment. So now let's go back, and I'm going to grab this 5/9 again, but now I need to talk about area. Remember, perimeter and area don't compare directly. I have to square it first so that I bring it to the same, so we're talking about the same idea. Because length length is a one-dimensional, and then once you start adding in area, you're talking about 2 dimensions, so length and width. So I'm going to square this. 5 times 5 is 25. 9 times 9 is 81. So now we can write a proportion about our area. So, and remember this was, for whatever reason, I'm changing to red here. So this was 25 and this is 81. All right. So now let's go ahead and write our ratio here. So on the 25 side, or figure 1, we don't know our area, so let's put an A. And then on the 81 side, or figure 2, we have an area of 243. So now we're going to start cross multiplying here. So let's see, we get 25 times 243. That one's a little bit more than I want to try to do in my head there. So I'm again using just a calculator off to the side here, because this calculator tends to get in my way just a little bit. 81 times A, we get 81A. So our last step is to divide by 81. Any number divided by itself cancels, and we have A equals, so I just want to divide by 81, and I get 75. All right, so the area of this first figure is 75, and the perimeter was 36. So we're going to check it, and we're good. All right, one more. Okay, click on the pencil. All right, so now we are being given perimeter and perimeter. So we always want to look for which two are matching. If we're given areas, then that's what we start with. If we're given perimeters, or if we're given lengths. So it just depends, what are you being given? That's how you start. So in this case, we're going to start with 24 and 21. So we need to reduce this. So they can both reduce by 3. So 24 divided by 3 is 8. 21 divided by 3 is 7. All right, so we have our, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. We have our ratio. So we have 8 to 7. So now we can start comparing. So 8 to 7, and that's going to equal, let's go ahead and do our length first. So on the 8 side of figure 1, we don't know, WX. And then on the 7 side, or figure 2, we have 7. So again, here's our logic. 8 to 7 equals something to 7. Does that need to be 8? Yes, it does. And if you weren't sure on that one, you could multiply. So you'd have 8 times 7. That gets you 56 equals 7 times WX. And then we would divide by 7. 56 divided by 7 comes back to 8 equals 7 divided by 7 cancels. So WX equals 7. So if you see it logically, great. And I keep saying that, but I just want to make sure if you see it, that's awesome. If you don't, just cross multiply like you would any other time, and that will give you your answer. All right, so let's go ahead and use this same thing for areas. Remember, we need to square it before we can use it for areas. So we're going to end up with 64 and 49. So I'm going to write this over here, 64 and 49. So we have 64 over 49 equals, for whatever reason, I forgot to change my color, but I'll change it up now. So on the 64 side, or figure 1, we have an area of 128. On figure 2, which is the 49 side, we have an area, an unknown area. That's what we're trying to find. So then we're going to go 64 times A, and we get 64A equals 49 times 128. Again, that's a little bit more than I want to try for mental math here. So 6,321. Our last step is to get A by itself, so we divide by 64. 64 divided by 64 cancels. A comes down, and we divide by 64, and we get 98.7. I'm going to make sure really quick that I didn't mess up any of my, so we get, yep. I'm a little concerned about the decimal, so I just want to make sure that I didn't mess up any of my numbers here. 64 to 49, we get 128A. So 64A, and then 49 times 128. Ooh, so I did mess this up a little bit. 272 divided by 64 equals, that's better. So it's not 98.7, it's just 98. So I was concerned with the decimal because usually if you're going to get decimals, they will warn you and say round to the nearest blah, 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 10th or 100th or something like that. They didn't warn me, so I was a little concerned when I got a decimal there. Kind of told me go back and look, and I did. I must have had something else in the calculator, or I might have even typed it in. I think I did 129 times 49 on accident, which is exactly what I did. I accidentally typed 129 instead of 128. So it's just one of those things. Go back, take a look at it. And to me, that was a red flag just because I didn't think that I should be getting a decimal on this one. It's not always a guarantee. Sometimes you do get decimals, but alrighty, we finished another one. Yay.